Okay, cool. So we're recording. Jen, hi. Thank you so much for taking the time. So, Jen, would you mind by starting to just introduce yourself and your organization?
Sure. My name is Jennifer St. Peter. I am the volunteer and community engagement coordinator for Rhode Island Blood Center. And I coordinate volunteers not only in Rhode Island, but also in Massachusetts and Connecticut for our blood center.
Super. Thank you very much. And could you outline how you were managing volunteers before Volunteero and any kind of challenges you were facing?
So before we were using Better Impact, which was a step up from Excel and email and phone calls, but it was still a struggle. It was a little bit clunky. I found myself having to do a lot of like workaround stuff to make it kind of do what I needed it to do in terms of reporting or sorting volunteers by category, in what they did or where they were from, like to get the data that I needed. It was a little bit difficult. It was also, I felt rudimentary with how our scheduling and reporting was. It wasn't, and their app wasn't super user friendly for our volunteers. So that's why I was looking for something else. It was a lot of having to export things to Excel and kind of fudge it around that way, which just took a lot of time. And the scheduling took a lot of time. Everything just took a lot of time, and it wasn't as automated as I would have hoped.
Okay, that's really helpful, Jen. And so since moving to Volunteer, I think you've been with us over a year now, which we're really pleased about. How has kind of Volunteero helped maybe somewhat solve or eradicate some of those challenges you were facing?
So it's definitely time saving. So being able to set up the mission templates and be able to use that for scheduling has been a real time saver. For instance, scheduling our drivers, I have about 15 volunteer drivers. We probably have about 20 missions that I need them to partake in each week. And it used to take me probably like an hour to 2 hours to do the scheduling for them to get everything into the system and then get it out to them. I had to export it into Excel for some of my people who weren't super tech savvy. So we were still kind of doing that hybrid. But now that group has just really embraced Volunteero. It takes me maybe half an hour to get all of the missions into the system for them to look at. They sign up super quick. They get notified when something new is in there, so they'll look at it. The assignments are easier. The reporting feature for them has been so great because they're able to, at the end of each shift, put in the mileage that they did, the actual mileage they did, the actual amount of time that they spent. It's not something that we kind of set and just say, okay, you did this mission, you get an hour or two for it. We're capturing actual live data. And then the part that I really loved is both for our drivers and for our other volunteer roles is being able to have a feature where they can report back feedback to us in real time, that I get it, in real time if there's an issue or feedback or an idea. And that has been super helpful. It's given me stuff that I can take and share with our leadership that we can respond to quicker than they have them having to remember to send me a text or an email or call me, and then move forward on those things. So it's really been a huge help also in, I think, managing our donor experience, our blood donor experience, and being able to make their experience better because we're getting this feedback from our volunteers.
That makes total sense. With that one, actually, Jen, we sometimes get pushback with people, organizations concerned, will volunteers be happy to kind of do these reports? And obviously we say, well, honestly, they take seconds, if that. But, it sounds like your experience has been maybe sometimes some people were hesitant at first, but now it seems to be well adopted. Do you find that they're happy to submit those reports? Did you find challenges there?
I have not had any pushback, and I have volunteers who range from 16 to 89. So, and the gamut of tech savviness. So yes, some people needed a few more extra little, coaching sessions on it. But no, they've been happy to. And I think they're feeling like being able to give that feedback too kind of gives them another outlet to feel like they're part of the organization and that their ideas are important and we're hearing them and taking action on them. Instead of, with such a vast kind of area that we cover, it's tough to be out in the field and see everybody all the time. So it's, I think, really been a big help in that.
Makes sense. Yeah, absolutely. You've mentioned quite a few of these. So my question was actually, what's your favorite feature and why? And you've mentioned reports and a number of the other features. Is there any other one that stands out or jumps out to you, Jen?
I love the chat. So that has also been a huge help in terms of like the drivers in particular. If we have one of our staff drivers who calls out sick and our logistics team's like, we need somebody, can you get a volunteer to help with this pickup? Before I had to, email out to the group, then people would piecemeal respond, and then I would have to respond to people. But now I can just put that in the chat to the group of drivers and they can respond in there, and then everybody sees all that information all at once. So it's saving that amount of time too. But the other thing I love about the chat is I have seen people go in there with a question about how to submit something or a question about something going on at a blood drive. Before I even have a chance to respond, the other volunteers are giving, advice and helping people. So that has been awesome. So I think that's really helping create a sense of community for us too. And again, with this broad area that we're servicing, we don't always see each other a lot. So I think that that's pretty helpful too.
That's it. Like, that was always the aim, was how can we create a space for digital community as well as, just the day-to-day communication side of things. So that's super. I'm really glad to hear that, Jen. Final question for me really is, so how the volunteers found it?
So far, so good. They seem to be liking it. They like the badge feature. That part is fun, I have heard.
Well, you're our sort of pin-up example, Jim, when it comes to badges.
It's so fun. I wish I had more time to create more badges. Because when I give myself like a half hour to be like, ooh, what kind of things can I create now? But again, it's just being able to foster that community with our volunteers. So I do think the app and the chat and all of those features have really helped with that. I feel like aesthetically it's better looking too. Like the app functions better, and if they have questions or suggestions and I don't know the answer to it, your customer service staff has been amazing with, being able to chat and just say, somebody's having an issue with this piece of it. How do I fix that? And then either they'll talk to them directly or give me the pieces that I can help with that. So as far as I've heard, there was a little like, oh God, we're going to something new and I have to learn the new. But so far, I have heard that it's been very easy. I think we're at 86% usage. So I think that was the last thing I said. But yeah,
that's good.
So
that's good. And Jen, sorry, I just had one other that popped to mind. You mentioned, look, people transferring from one system to another. I think people will stick with a system just because it's status quo, right? And I think it's a brave decision to make that jump because it's the unknown, right? Yeah. So, for anybody else maybe thinking about that, should I just stick with what I've got or making that transition? Was it as daunting or as concerning as you thought? Was it as time consuming? How did that play out?
It wasn't as time consuming as I thought it would be. And again, there was the great rollout kind of outline website thing that you guys had. And I worked with Josie and she was amazing in walking me through it and kind of helping me noodle through how I wanted to set things up. So I looked at it as this really great chance to set it up in a good way that made sense for us instead of piecemealing things here and there, and a chance to kind of look at our data, what we had, clean things up. So yeah, I didn't use the data migration part of it. I took the time to go through and add people just because it helped me on that side kind of assess what I had and what I needed. But no, I thought the onboarding process was really easy. It wasn't scary. I've been telling my other counterparts at the blood centers near me that it's not scary as you think it is. So, but and you guys were a great support team through it too.
Really appreciate that. Well, Jen, thank you so much for your time and for being such a wonderful customer to work with. Really appreciate it. And yeah, that wraps it up for today. Have a wonderful day.
Thanks. You too.
I'll just put in there. Brilliant.